Greetings everybody. So in our last class we had discussed how do buyers behave and the demand curve, how do the demand curve shifts, the factors that influence the shift and all. So in this class we'll be studying that the third class for the fourth chapter of economics major, Daron Acemoglu, David Leibson, Johnny List, Microeconomics reading the fourth chapter. So here in this class we'll be studying how do sellers behave. So the interaction of buyers and sellers in a marketplace determines the market price. Quantity supplied is the amount of a good or service that sellers are willing to sell at a given price. Okay, quantity supplied. Okay, so the example provided in the reading is of an oil production, so we'll go with that itself. As the oil price goes up, ExxonMobil increases the willingness to supply oil that is relatively expensive for the company to discover and extract. That is unlike demand. So demand was like, it was negative related with the price. When the price goes up, demand for a particular commodity decreases. Yes, there are exceptions. Same applies for supply curve as law of supply also. There are exceptions for the law of supply, but generally in the majority cases, as the price goes up, supply increases. The major reason for this is everyone tries to optimize. In the case of buyers, they just try to optimize. They just try to get products, goods and services for cheap price. So when the price is dropped, their demand increases because they are trying to find their best option. They are trying to optimize. The same happens with sellers also. The opposite one. They are also trying to optimize. They are also trying to find their best feasible option, best option for them. So as the price goes up, they will sell more. The supplied quantity will increase. So supply curve. So first is supply schedule. It's a table that reports the quantity supplied at different prices, holding all else equal. Supply curve plots the quantity supplied at different prices. That is supply schedule. Here it is positively related. In almost all cases, the quantity supplied rises when the prices rise. Okay. So example, ExxonMobil supply schedule. As the price increases of what? As the price of barrel of oil increases, the supplied quantity also increases. Thus, the supply curve is having a positive slope. Not positive slope. It's an upward sloping. In this graph, at y-axis, the price of oil rises. Thus, in x-axis, the quantity of oil supplied also rises. When it is 100, in x-axis it is this much. When it was 75 per barrel, the quantity supplied was 1 billion of barrels of oil per year. Okay, it increased. As the price increased, the quantity also increased. And this is the slope is having a the slope is having a curve. Though it is an upward sloping, it is having a curve. Why can it be? It's only because of the reason that though they are increasing the supply with the increase in price, but the resource is limited. They experience scarcity because ExxonMobil owns only a limited amount of oil reserves and finds it more and more difficult to expand production as the quantity supplied rises. Scarcity of resources is the reason for this curve in this upward sloping of supply curve. So you can note down this part. Just take a screenshot or something, or you can post the video and write it. So next is willingness to accept. So it is the lowest price that a seller is willing to get paid to sell an extra unit of a good. In the case of ExxonMobil, it is $50. That is at a particular quantity supplied, at a particular quantity supplied, willingness to accept is the height of the supply curve. It is same as the marginal cost of production. ExxonMobil is willing to accept $50 for an additional barrel because $50 is ExxonMobil's marginal cost when it produces its 1 billionth barrel in a year. If ExxonMobil were to accept less than $50 for its 1 billionth barrel, it would be losing money on that unit of production. Next is from individual supply curve to market supply curve. We know market supply curve means summation of individual supply curves. So it plots the relationship between total quantity supplied and the market price, holding or else equal. So with ExxonMobil, we are adding another example of Chevron here, as the market price experienced by both are same, but the quantity supplied is different. So both are added. The quantity supplied of both the firms are added here. For $10, both are supplying nothing, so zero itself. For $25 per barrel, they are supplying, one is supplying 0.5 billion of barrels per year, and Exxon is supplying 0.6 billion of barrels per year. So in total 1 billion barrel per year. So like that, the rest two are also added here. So we get this total supply curve in that sense. Like the individual supply curve, total supply curve will also be what will be upward sloping. So let's see where this meets. So here it is. Wait a minute. Yep. So we can see that the supply curve meets at 35 billion barrels of oil per year and 50 million $50, not million, $50 per barrel. So it's like this. So here it's the optimum, equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price. So next is shifting the supply curve. In last class we studied how the demand curve gets shifted. So it gets shifted and it also gets moved along the same demand curve. The market price moves along the same demand curve as well. So here we are studying 4 reasons, that is prices of inputs, then technology, then number and scale of sellers, and sellers' beliefs about the future as the reasons for the shift in supply curve, and the market price for the movement along the supply curve. Okay. So first is prices of inputs used to produce the good. We know what is an input. It is a good or service used to produce another good or service. So let cloth be a good. So the cotton will be its input. Let cake be a good, sugar will be its input. Okay. So the example in the textbook, steel is used to construct oil tankers, okay, or tanks, whatever. An increase in the price of steel implies that some opportunities to produce oil will no longer be profitable. Because to construct oil tankers we need steel, and the steel's prices increased, so it becomes more expensive to construct oil tankers. That is to produce oil. Therefore, optimizing oil producers will choose not to supply as much oil. It follows that an increase in the price of steel shifts the supply curve of oil to the left. Thus, the quantity of oil supplied also falls. So, if this is the initial supply curve, steel's price increased, it becomes more expensive to produce oil because of increased price of steel. So the supply curve shifts here. In contrast, if the price of steel is decreased, supply curve will shift to right, because it is now more profitable to sell oil as the cost is less for producing the same. So next is movement along the supply curve. So here, if the goods on price, not any factors or not any input, if the goods on price changes, then the supply curve will move. They will not shift, it will move along this, and along this curve. Okay, sorry, like this. So the price of oil increased, so it will move from this part to this part. This is the new market price. Okay. You can note it down if you want. One is shifting because of the increase and decrease of the input price, and the second one is movement along because of the supply curve because of the change in goods on price. Next is change in technology. So changes in technology also shift the supply curve. An example is fracking, that is hydraulic fracking and all, or whatever technology which have revolutionized the energy industry. It will it pressurized fluids to create fractures in the underground rock formation that surrounded a drilled well. Leave everything. It just revolutionized the energy industry. It helped the producers to sell a product with less cost. Okay, so if their production cost is decreased, imagine, so this is the supply curve for oil. The production cost of oil decreased because of the reason is because of the technology development. Because of technological development, the production cost of oil decreased. So supply curve will shift to right, as it is less expensive to produce oil, that is more profitable to sell oil. So definitely the supply will increase because they are trying to optimize. It is profitable for the producers to sell. But in past time, years back, when there was no technological innovation, it was so expensive to produce oil. The graph, the supply curve was here because it was expensive to produce oil because of the lack of technological development. So suppliers will decided to keep it less, the supply of oil to be in a reduced form. Okay. Next is changes in number and scale of sellers. Changes in the number of sellers also shift the supply curve. So we'll take the example of Libyan rebels in 2011. So a war happened. During this period, Libya essentially stopped oil production. Before the World War, before the war, Libyan wells had been producing about 550 million barrels per year. So this is the scale of Libyan production, 550 million barrels per year, that is, it can influence the whole world. So during the Libyan civil war, world supply curve shifted to the left by 550 million barrels per year, because before it was here, the world had 550 million barrels of oil from Libya. When it stopped, decreased, 550 million oils supplied decreased, so towards left it shifted. It's a huge scale, so it can affect the supply curve. Next is changes in sellers' belief about future. So as we studied about gold in the last in the demand curve shifting, here we can study about natural gas. So consider the market price of natural gas. Every winter, natural gas usage skyrockets for home heating. This creates a winter spike in natural gas prices. Expecting such price spikes, natural gas producers store vast quantities during the summer, because selling in summer is not profitable. Selling in winter is profitable because natural gas prices are skyrocketed in the winter. Okay, that is, they build up stockpiles in the summer instead of selling them to the public. So in the summer, let's say, in the summer, if this is the supply curve, they are stockpiling, they are storing the natural gas for the winter. That is the selling. The supply in the summer is decreased intentionally. So the supply curve shifts left. Okay. But in winter, it will shift to right because it is more profitable. Prices are high for natural gas in winter. That is, the sellers are optimizing. That's it. So it is an optimization strategy. Next is supply and demand equilibrium. Competitive markets converge to the price at which quantity supplied and quantity demanded are the same. That is, if this is the curve, this is the supply curve, this is the demand curve, this intersects at this point. So the quantity supplied at this point and the market price at this point are considered equilibrium. Quantity and equilibrium market price respectively. So this point is the competitive equilibrium, and this is the competitive equilibrium quantity, and this is the competitive equilibrium price. That is, in a competitive market, market price is the point at which the demand curve intersects the supply. So demand curve and supply curve for oil market cross at the price $50 per barrel and a quantity of 35 billion barrels, because the demand curve slopes down and supply curve slopes up. Two curves has only one crossing point. That point is the competitive equilibrium, and the price at that point is competitive equilibrium price. So at that price, it is also called as market clearing price, because this price equates quantity supplied and quantity demanded. At this price, there is a buyer for every unit that is supplied. There is a buyer for every unit that is supplied, because the quantity supplied and quantity demanded is equal. Thus, it is called market clearing, because every unit is supplied, every unit is purchased. This quantity is called competitive equilibrium quantity. At the competitive equilibrium price, the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. That means at any other price, these won't be equal. Quantity demanded will not be equal to quantity supplied. Next is about excess supply. Okay. So in excess supply, here the market is not in competitive equilibrium, because the market price is above the competitive equilibrium price. So this is the competitive equilibrium price. Here is where supply curve and demand curve intersects, but the market price is above that at this part, $70 per barrel like this. So when it comes here, this is the blue one is the demand curve, and black one is the supply curve. So the difference between these two gives excess supply. Supply is more, right? The demand is only for 29 billion barrels per year, but 38 billion barrels per year is supply. There comes excess supply. Okay. So here 9 billion barrels. Okay, 9 billion barrels are unsold each year. This would push down oil price as enormous stockpiles of oil would build up around the world. Right, 9 billion barrels of oil gets piled up in the world, that is, supply increases so much. It is not increasing, it's getting piled up. More than enough quantity is being produced. So as you have many quantity, like many than more than the demand required amount quantity, the demand for that particular good will decrease. It will push down oil price because existing oil storage tanks are limited in scale and expensive to build. That is another reason. The first reason is what I said. And if you have things available everywhere, the demand will decrease. And when it comes to the oil as a good, storing oil is expensive. There is scarcity in the storage tanks of oil. So people will sell it, the sellers will sell it, undercutting each other's prices. So the inventory will be sold fastly. So excess supply won't last. Sellers who are selling nearly identical barrels of oil would compete with one another for customers by cutting prices. This would continue until the market price fall back to the competitive equilibrium price. This competitive process plays an important role in pushing the market towards the aptly named competitive equilibrium price. It pushes down. First it was here and it pushes down. So the supply will be here, then here, like first here, then here. So first the market price was here. I'll rub everything. I'll draw from the beginning. Something happened with my, yeah, now it's done. Okay. So, in order to reach the equilibrium point, it's hard, it's tough to use this. So, in order to reach this equilibrium point, so 50 is the equilibrium price. In actual, 50 is the equilibrium. Somewhere here, okay, price. So the supply will be reduced. Demand will stay as such, but supply will be reduced to this point. The market price will be, supply will be like that, and the market price will be reduced, so people will buy it more. Okay. Next is when the market price is below the competitive equilibrium price, excess demand occurs. Okay. So here also, as the demand is more, demand exceeds supply. Many are demanding a particular good, then the suppliers will increase the price because all are behind this good only. So the suppliers will increase the price and it will reach, market price will be increased and it will reach the equilibrium price. Okay. In the case of demand, supply, first the supply was here, so no one is buying and it is expensive to store the oil, so they will decrease, they will cut down the prices and they will decrease and it will reach this point. And when it is in the case of excess demand, it will be increased, they will increase the price in order to get rid of the market, like in order to get the market itself, because everyone is ready to pay more to get this particular good. So that's it with the supply and demand in equilibrium. Next is curve shifting in a competitive equilibrium market, which we'll deal in the next class. It's only a little, it's very easy to get in. Yeah, so till then, happy learning.